What is going on, everybody? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to do a list about who you should be watching, the matchups, the games you should be watching in week 3 of college football. So if you guys are new, you know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun YouTube jazz. More links are down in the description to get even more involved. I would love to hear from you guys there. So let me know about all that fun stuff. Again, feel free to give me feedback on these series because honestly, again, they do take a lot of work, but it's great just to be in the know, and you know, it's fun to bring you guys along my learning journey with me because it just makes the content so much better and keeps us up to date with every single week. Always fun. So let's kick this off with the first matchup of the week. Yes, this is my second time recording this because OBS is finicky, but it's Malik Cunningham versus Jordan Travis. So, Louisville and Florida State are playing each other. This is not going to be the only matchup from this game that I'm excited to watch, but if you guys are new to the series, which it's essentially a brand new series, this is a new way of being able to format this. If you guys see on the bottom left where Malik Cunningham, or people call him Mikhail Cunningham, it's Malik Mikhail Cunningham, get used to it. Near his left eye, it says a number 200. You might say, what the hell is that? That's my own big board ranking. I wanted to toss that in, add that little personable touch. But this is a big game for both of these guys because they're both trying to compete to become NFL level quarterbacks. Jordan Travis is highlighted as a potential dark horse Heisman candidate after that week 1 performance. So, you know, if he does end up continuing to put up great performances, absolutely. I'm never going to write Jordan Travis off. I will say my former high school teammate Micah Pittman is on this team, and he gives some inside information. This inside information is the fact that Jordan Travis somehow does not eat ice cream sandwiches the way that normal humans do. To me, it was so atrocious that I had to drop him a full round on my board. Jokes aside, I mean, I did actually send that to Micah, but jokes aside, he is a really good, he has always been a pretty solid quarterback. Granted, I don't think he's NFL caliber. I think he'd be a great college quarterback, and he's a really great, dangerous weapon. And he's dangerous with his legs. Same thing with Malik Cunningham. Malik is a roller coaster. He'll have great games where you're like, wow, this guy's worth a 4th or a 5th round pick. But then, the game that I saw in person at his bowl game, he just falls off a cliff. This year, if I'm not mistaken, against Syracuse, fell off a cliff. And that's not NFL caliber. So he fell from probably around 170 originally down to 200 already. It's not that big of a drop, but to be honest, he's starting to continue to fall. I'm projecting him to get a level quarterbacks. Jordan Travis is highlighted as a potential dark horse Heisman candidate after that week 1 performance. So, you know, if he does end up continuing to put up great performances, absolutely. I'm never going to write Jordan Travis off. I will say my former high school teammate Micah Pittman is on this team, and he gives some inside information. This inside information is the fact that Jordan Travis somehow does not eat ice cream sandwiches the way that normal humans do. To me, it was so atrocious that I had to drop him a full round on my board. Jokes aside, I mean, I did actually send that to Micah, but jokes aside, he is a really good, he has always been a pretty solid quarterback. Granted, I don't think he's NFL caliber. I think he'd be a great college quarterback, and he's a really great, dangerous weapon. And he's dangerous with his legs. Same thing with Malik Cunningham. Malik is a roller coaster. He'll have great games where you're like, wow, this guy's worth a 4th or a 5th round pick. But then, the game that I saw in person at his bowl game, he just falls off a cliff. This year, if I'm not mistaken, against Syracuse, fell off a cliff. And that's not NFL caliber. So he fell from probably around 170 originally down to 200 already. It's not that big of a drop, but to be honest, he's starting to continue to fall. I'm projecting him to get enough of a bounce back this week, getting 220 total yards with 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. I think Florida State's defense is great, and a matchup that we're just about to talk about is probably going to be the reason why he cannot do much more than that. Jordan Travis, I think that they have a multifaceted game. I don't really think he's a 300-yard passer, but I think the touchdowns to interception ratio will be a lot better than Malik Mikhail Cunningham's. So next matchup, Trevor Reid, Jared Verse. So the only reason I have Jared Verse at number 88 is because I want to see him one more week against another team before trying to crown this dude in the top 32. It's ridiculous, but Jared Verse is an absolute baller. Again, he's just really, really damn good. And that's awesome. I'm so happy to see that for him. And you know what? I got to give a shout out to Broshmo. He's the one who watched the Albany tape. I didn't do that in the offseason, mainly because I have a full-time job. And then this, and then other stuff to do as well. So I'm not going to try and make excuses. I didn't watch the Albany tape, but he did. He pointed him out to me. He said this guy's going to be good. I trusted him because Florida State knows what the hell they're looking for, and they did a great job last year with Jermaine Johnson, and this year they're doing the exact same with Jared Verse. Trevor Reid has always been extremely underwhelming to me. The baller-ass picture, I think it was when he got recruited, but I still think he'll let 2 pressures allowed. I know PRA is technically not a stat. It's supposed to be just 2 PR allowed, but I wanted to make it up. 2 pressures allowed. I think that Jared Verse is going to have 4 pressures overall. Make whatever combination that you guys want to of it, but I think that will be mainly hurries, hits, and a sack because I think they'll actually game plan against Jared Verse, which will make it more difficult to transition those hits and hurries into sacks. So next we have Georgia versus Carolina, or South Carolina, but I'm going to focus on the 2 players I want to watch the most out of this matchup, which is seeing how Stetson Bennett continues to carve apart defenses, but Cam Smith. I really want to see how Cam Smith is able to verse Stetson Bennett. Now, I think that Stetson's going to have his way. I think that he might throw an interception, but not to Cam Smith. I don't think Cam Smith's going to be targeted as much as the other corners on this team, so I think that he'll still let up a good amount of yardage. 70 yards is a considerable amount for a top-tier corner like Cam Smith. But I still think he'll be able to make a play and get a pass breakup and will not let up one of those 3 touchdowns. Are these stats pulled out of my ass? Sure. But honestly, they're fun to put in here, and it's really cool to reference it. It's like, hey, you know what? I thought Stetson might put up 340. He ended up putting up 150 yards and got 3 interceptions. Stuff like that, where it's like, hey, it's just cool to see where my thought process was before and then see how it transitions as the year goes on and more evidence comes out. Again, Cam Smith's number 51 on my board. People might say, Alex, you're fucking batshit crazy for not putting him in the top 32. I'll just say this. This cornerback class is absolutely stacked, and Cam Smith didn't make my top. I don't think he made my top 5 or top 6 corners, and I don't think at this moment he's even in my top 8, and he's still number 51. That's how damn good this class is. So just keep your eyes out on that. I have a 2nd-round grade on Cam Smith, and that again, that's including all the corners above him. It's ridiculous. This class is absolutely batshit crazy. But continuing on, we have Drew Allar or Sean Clifford versus Derek Hall. I'm very excited about Drew Allar because he just has that crazy arm. He actually can be a really good quarterback. Again, for these people who are saying, oh, well, Drew Allar's not coming out in the draft. This isn't a draft show. This isn't specific to the draft anymore. I want to have it be for all of college football. So I think Drew Allar is a kid who has a lot of potential, but he's going to be facing a much tougher defense than even Purdue with Auburn. And I think that Derek Hall will probably get 2 hurries and a sack. The only reason I don't put it as more is because I've heard this Penn State new left tackle is actually not too shabby. I haven't done enough of a study on him myself to make that official claim, but, it's great to hear. So let's continue on here. Kayshon Boutte plays Emmanuel Forbes. Now, I don't think they're going to be one-on-one the entire time, hence the discrepancy between the receiving yards and the yards let up. But, again, I still think Kayshon Boutte will be a good enough force. Granted, I think there'll be enough focus on him to where he's not the primary guy getting the ball all the time. Still number 28 on my board, even after all the potential personality concerns, the drop in usage, and, no pun intended, the drops. So, yeah, he's been dropping in ranking because of that. The dude just can't catch for shit. But Emmanuel Forbes is 180 pounds, and I'm not really a huge fan of my corners being exact sticks. Granted, Sauce Gardner was my number 1 player in the draft last year, but he was still 195-ish. Emmanuel Forbes, he's extremely thin. I don't really think he has a place besides maybe a slot in the NFL, but we'll see about that as time progresses. Because, again, last year, Mississippi State had a baller in Martin Emerson. He was a lot bigger, but, we'll see about that. Jaelyn Duncan plays my SMU's DeVere Levelston this week. DeVere's not probably going to play him one-on-one because of the fact that he plays more inside, but he has the weight at 266 to play on the outside, and if I were him, I'd be telling my coaches, I'd be saying, hey, listen, I want to be considered as a top-tier NFL prospect. I want to go up against the best, and Jaelyn Duncan is by far their best lineman right now. So I'm going to face him, and I'm going to show either the world that I'm the boss and just bet on myself, or we'll see if Jaelyn Duncan really is all that. So I don't think the SMU defense is really going to provide too much of a hassle for Jaelyn Duncan. I think he'll let up a pressure, hopefully to DeVere Levelston, but we'll see about that. I think DeVere is a very good player. Got to see him in person. Again, you guys don't know. I go to SMU, so I got to see him in person. He's a good player, but again, I haven't been able to watch him enough to give a really concrete answer on where he should be on my draft board. Jaelyn Duncan's in the top 100. It's a great spot for him. I really do. Some people have him in the top 20. I think it's a little bit batshit crazy. That seems to be the phrase of the afternoon, but I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think that of him, and we'll see. We'll see who's right. Next, we have Spencer Rattler versus Georgia. So basically, there's enough guys to talk about here, so I'm just going to put it as him versus the entire defense. Keely Ringo's in there. You could have Starks in there. I think Christopher Smith's in there. And then, obviously, you know the drill. Jalen Carter, etc. So I'm not going to go into my rant about Spencer Rattler. I already did that on my stock up, stock down this week, so check that out. It was a baller-ass thumbnail, so, I'm pretty proud of myself for that one. Go check it out. But, yeah, I dropped Spencer Rattler a bit more from 169, not so nice, down to 193. I still think he's going to continue falling. I am very generous with the fact that I gave him over 100 yards and a touchdown, but we'll see. I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to get drafted. I highly doubt it. But Sean Tucker is going up against a Purdue defense. It's a pretty damn good against the run game, but I think they'll key in on him, make sure that he's not going to be a weapon out of the backfield, and I still think Sean Tucker is going to eat. So, big fan of Sean Tucker right there. He's going to go off. You might say number 68 is criminal to have Sean Tucker there. All I'll say is, I don't even have Bijan in my top 32 because I don't think running backs are that valuable, but also this running back class is absolutely stacked. So his value compared to everyone else at a lower value position that is oversaturated, or for other people who don't know that term, there's too many of them, I think it's perfectly fine. And he definitely could still raise up. If he has this type of game against a top-tier defense, I'll move him to my top 64 easily. Sometimes maybe I just want to put him on a stock up or a stock down list. Next, we got TVD, who dropped from 13 to 20 on my list, going up against some ballers in the Texas A&M defense. Granted, Southern Mississippi somehow was able to find a way to beat them. I think it's more of an offensive issue. We'll talk about that another time, though, because, why Haynes King? Max Johnson actually, I think, is an NFL backup quality quarterback that could lead this team to some big W's, and Haynes King just can't. He's just not good. So that's my thought on that. TVD was not able to outperform what my expectations were of him against Southern Mississippi, which I'm not a huge fan of that overall. So I do think TVD, if Jaylon Jones plays, will be throwing a couple of interceptions. Jaylon Jones, I think, took the week off to have a little extra healing. I know he's been dealing with, I believe, a foot injury. It happens to corners, but I really do think that Antonio Johnson and Jaylon Jones, if healthy, are going to eat. But we'll see. Honestly, I would love Tyler Van Dyke to prove me wrong because I've been a big proponent of him for a hot minute now. Next, we have ZTF versus Michigan State's offensive line. So here's the only issue, is that he sucked booty cheeks versus Portland State. 29.8 PFF grade. That's correct. In 0 pressures. I don't get it. I have zero clue what the hell's happening. But we'll see. He dropped from 32 to 43. Should have dropped a lot more than that if I was just looking at that week. We'll see what happens. We'll really see what happens here. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he gets a pressure against this O-line. I don't know. I really don't know. But we'll see. I honestly hope he has a bounce back week. Blake Freeland's then playing the Oregon Ducks. Again, there's a lot of guys I can mention for Oregon here. Christian Gonzalez. Obviously, I'm bugging on the damn edge rusher's name. I bugged on it the first time I recorded, did it again. But they have I think his name's Brandon Dorless. He's a monster. I do like him. 30% missed tackle rate, though. Super weird. I don't know why Oregon can't tackle. But, again, Sewell up in here. There's a lot of guys who I'd love to see versus BYU's offense. Just that's pretty much understood. But Blake Freeland's going to be going up against some really good players, and I want to see how he's able to handle it. He's number 91 on my board. This could either shoot him into the 70s or it could drop him into the 130s. Like, if he ends up sucking against Oregon, there's cause for concern. Then we have Bo Nix versus BYU's defense. Yeah, he is just... I have no faith in him. 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick is my projection. I don't think BYU's defense is even that good. But I'm starting to sell my stock on Bo Nix. And I think a lot of people have already fully sold their stock. I still had some remaining. Is he not grabbing the football by the laces? Pause. What the hell? I don't know if he just always does that. That's whack. Sorry, I just recognized that for the first time. But that's going to be the end of the video, guys. There's a lot more matchups I could have talked about, but those are the primary ones that you and I are going to be technically looking at really heavily. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.